It's ADSN on the beat, where the data meets the street. James and Daniel in your feed, breaking down the code you need. Tech talk, ad game, and a little AI. Every week we got the chat on ADSN.
Welcome back. Another ADSN, another week. James, this week we're doing it live from Miami at Possible. We're actually not. We're in sunny LA. All our friends are in Miami. Here we are, although you and I look pretty tan, like we just came from Miami. So, for whatever that's worth to viewers.
That's Southern California has its perks. Yes.
I hope everyone's having fun out there and getting what they need to done. It means we're not getting called this week. So with that, why don't you kick us off this week? You got something good from Sam Altman. Is that right?
I do indeed. Altman posted, feels like a good time to seriously rethink how operating system and user interfaces are designed. Also the internet, semicolon. There should be a protocol that is equally usable by people and agents. So this is clearly Altman talking his book. There's now subsequent rumors that this is all a lead into them launching their OpenAI phone. I think they're saying 2028 is when they're talking about it. But I do think this is, I posted about this over the weekend on a couple of different platforms, but everything does have to be rethought of because the user interfaces are going away. And in particular, it's really like API design. And the mental model for me really has been now just when you think of AI, like APIs are Lego blocks that you're giving to it, and it can only make basically it can only make the shapes that the APIs basically can enable. And so that, I think from like a product perspective, is actually really, really helpful. But I thought it's good Altman sort of talking about this stuff. I do think the phone thing would be amazing if they actually can roll this out. But yeah, thought it was going by Sam. He's trying, he's back. I feel like the TBPN guys are writing his posts, which is hysterical because they have gotten like kind of cooler and like edgier since those guys have started.
I want to see if like the OpenAI office now has like their big Mustang or whatever. They're moving to those offices. But I agree. He's having his like Mark Zuckerberg moment. This is his like AI gold chain, scraggly hair. Maybe we'll see him at a UFC fight soon.
That'd be incredible. All right, what do you got?
The next one you actually sent me. This one coming from Benedict Evans, where he wrote the parallel between token pricing now and mobile data pricing 15 and 20 years ago is almost perfect. You have marginal cost for unit of measure that doesn't mean anything to most people and doesn't map well to use cases or value. And I know you like this one, and you actually replied to it, so we'll get into that in a sec. But this one is just, it's a really good mental model as you think about 15, 20 years ago, we were buying minutes and number of texts and you're forecasting out, I don't know how many texts I'm going to send to my friends over the next 8 days. And then I got to pay you, 15 cents a text after that. And this is, the same. Like a token means nothing to me, right? It's like, I don't know, I want the job done. How much is the job going to cost me? Right. And so I think this is like such a good mental model.
The token pricing is crazy. And I had a conversation with a friend about this too, where like Claude is now basically becoming like a little bit more like a super app. So you can like call an Uber via it, you can like check Airbnb, but the whole thing is like, who in the world is going to actually waste tokens on calling an Uber based on the current model? Especially like once you start using Claude for Code, you're sitting there being like, do I really want to spend these tokens or not? So it really is going to make it, I think, where it's a perfect opportunity for indirect revenue to come into play. It's a perfect opportunity for an ads business to come to fold. Obviously, chat's already gone that way, and I think Claude's going to. But Benedict he kind of nails it. And I posted this where it was like, it's kind of like this transition from CPM pricing to CPA pricing. Like we're gonna have to until they have ads. Like my cousin in the northern suburbs of Chicago, who like has never even heard of Claude, is like not gonna know how many tokens she should pay for.
Totally.
Like it just, so they're going to have to fix this
And
one.
we and everyone else on this, like listening to this and watching this, has run in the same boat where you ask Claude to do something, and all of a sudden it's like you hit your limit, and you're like, "That was a pretty simple ask, I thought," and now like I gotta wait
Totally.
4 hours. I'm gonna forget about this. Like, forget it. Like, I don't even want to deal with it anymore.
Mhm. I love all those. There's all those memes where like when you run out of it, and it's basically like it's like an owner yelling at a monkey because like we're the monkey, like we can't like do anything without the. Yeah,
It needs to tell you, like, go
it's
touch
amazing.
some grass. You've been coding too long. Go touch some grass.
Yeah. I think good transition to something people will understand, which is this post about how GPT-2 Image, which is absolutely sick. If you've not played with it, is awesome. If you have ChatGPT Plus, you can just say like, make me a picture of whatever, and it's incredibly cool how well it works. But this post here basically is, okay, Lego bros and bronettes and brothers are cooked with this one. GPT-2 Image can create full Lego sets with actual BrickLink IDs, so you can order the parts and build it. So if you wanted to say, tell me how to go ahead and build a Lego version of, me and my kids hanging out, you can actually take a picture, put it into ChatGPT, and it will spit out all the individual Lego pieces that you can build. This is obviously like a funny use case, but what it says about 3D printing, what it says about sort of more broadly like engineering and industrial design, like it's going to level the playing field quite a bit when it comes to like the physical world, because it can deconstruct these like complicated things so easily.
And actually, I took it the other way of like, what an incredible like business opportunity and growth mechanism for, I mean, in this case, Lego, but others, like whoever owns the core customer, the distribution channel, like Lego should be lining up to partner right now and be like, build whatever you want. If you can imagine it, you can build it, and we'll ship you, the units.
That's great.
And like,
Great tagline there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd start my own, except I'm not Lego, so I don't know.
Yes.
I'd have the same distribution.
Well, another thing too that that Jet put out too is, we're gonna edit this. Chris, edit this part. Yeah. Another thing along these lines that ChatGPT put out is they have Codex, which is like their Claude Code competitor, and that comes with a built-in game design studio. So you can tell between like this and the game design studio. I really think ChatGPT is going to turn into a gaming platform. It's so ripe for that type of behavior, and it's going to get them hopefully the screen time they need to make the ads business for real. Yeah. So I think this is just like one of many things that you're going to see where like effectively it's sort of gamifying and creating new ways for you to spend time with ChatGPT. But if you haven't played around with GPT-2 Image, you should. It's pretty incredible.
Okay. All right. Going then from the fun to something I think a little more tangible on the business side, but still just as interesting. So this one coming from Sid Trivedi, where he wrote, "Diligence in 2026 is wild. My friends in private equity are now spending the weekend before I see trying to rebuild the company they're acquiring in Claude Code. If the clone works, the deal dies. Cheapest moat test in human history." And I see it, right? Like if we've talked about it, like if now the barrier to entry, like you need to have a real moat, like a real value proposition beyond just here's a tool, here's a feature, here's like software, because every company can build their own, every VC can build their own. And so like you better be coming to the table with something unique.
Yeah, it's a great example, I think, like as an extension to the ads world, about how like the supply side, if they leverage it in the right way, has so much opportunity in comparison to what they really could have in the past. Because the tooling is primarily a commodity. Like I feel like success now for these ads businesses is like it's product strategy, it's not engineering, and then it's really about how do you protect and leverage your supply. Mm. And I think that's why like you can't like, sure, you could Claude Code the Amazon DSP as an example, but like doesn't get you all the Amazon IDs, doesn't get you all the Amazon supply, doesn't get you all the, so like it's really it's these lightweight, simple SaaS businesses, I think, are crushed. But the other ones, I think, are going to be in a really good spot.
Actually, it's a good kind of segue into shouting out to Russ from Snap, who's on the comms team, and Evan, who just did an interview with Lenny on his podcast. And he talked about this. 15 years ago, his view was that software is dead. It's a great interview if nobody's listened to it, but his view was software is dead. And for Snap, really the moat was building the community, building the platform, building the extensions, and the actual value, as opposed to just building features and tools. And I know we've been critical of obviously the company and the monetization side, but I think it's because we have so much passion and we know what that company should be. But it on the flip side, there is a reason they've existed for so long, that they're still a multi-billion-dollar company, that Evan is still arguably one of the best product minds in the industry. He saw it 15 years ago, and everything you're saying is harkening back to that same point of view. Just everyone's seeing it now.
Yeah, no, distribution's key. I think I do like this little roadshow that Evan's on. I think it's actually pretty impressive. And if Russ is listening, official RFP to get Evan on here and talk about the $6 billion ads business no one understands, which is Snapchat. So I think we could help shed some light on that. So Russ, you know how to find me.
Official RFP. All right, what do you have next?
Yeah. All right. A staple of the podcast now. Sean Frank says, for $200 a month, you can have unlimited, focused, diligent digital employees, and you still aren't building anything? ? Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like it's everyone's got to be annoyed with me talking about this at this point. I just showed you some stuff that I built. You can build anything. You can build anything. I think the hardest thing that if anyone's going to start playing around with these tools and ask questions, I'm not the most experienced, but hit me up. I'd love to help. Mike Christo is who I go to after I have a question that I don't know how to answer. But the key to it is that everything that you used to think is hard is actually not hard anymore. So the challenge is, how do you think big enough to get the output? But any little app idea, any website, anything a little dashboard, it's all trivial. And I think what people haven't done a great job with yet, myself included, is trying to think bigger, because you can build so much. And so I think honestly, we've for Universal Ads, we've talked about this a lot. We're trying to push ourselves to think just in ways we never could have before, because this is all at our disposal. And I think that's the opportunity right now, is who can start thinking natively around these things. Yeah. And then from that, you can start building just incredible stuff. So I agree with Frank, Sean Frank.
I just love that, having Sean Frank, every time we reference him, it's in reference to AI, but he's the CEO of Ridge Wallet. So this in real life, go out in the world and pay for stuff guy. But he's the biggest proponent of AI. So
he's also a very he's a California optimist, which is kind of interesting. He wants to fix this place. He's I think Sean Frank could be good friends. I think this guy, I agree with almost everything he says.
Sean, get on the pod.
Maybe that's another RFP.
Second RFP. Yeah. Sean, get on the pod live in California over some beers.
Yeah.
We'll talk it all.
Yes. All right. This next one, explain this one to me.
This one, all right. So the news out that has kind of hit the wires is that China has basically said that it has not approved Meta's acquisition of Manus, and that it wants it to kind of pull it back. And so I thought this was a really interesting take. It's kind of from the Sincere VP. It's an anonymous channel of folks that post their experiences, but this one coming from who we assume, right, assuming it's true, senior M&A attorney at the law firm that structured Meta's acquisition of Manus. And it's a pretty interesting analysis of what went into the diligence, why this was considered, but considered to be a very small likelihood of occurring, and then what it means for the future. That China has basically put a stake in the ground and is essentially saying it doesn't matter where you live anymore. If you have a Chinese passport, if you're a Chinese founder, we have some claim on what you're doing and some say in who you sell it to. In particular, the U.S., who is we're competing with for global superpower and AI domination, et cetera.
Because the whole story isn't it the team went to Singapore They were originally China, then went to Singapore, then sold to Meta, and so like that didn't get them. That like loophole is closed. Is that basically the
what
reason?
it's saying? Yeah. And so it kind of opens this question of like, how do you, like, does the U.S. then have to start giving out citizenship to these founders and these brilliant AI researchers in advance of like acquiring, like,
You could buy them. You can get the, like, there is that the gold card. You can buy citizenship.
buy it. These people probably have enough money. But the other, like, we were talking about it, like, this integration's done. Like, Meta's been touting up Manus. Manus is part of Ads Manager. Like, sure, you can pull this back and like give the money back, but then what? Like, you're going to pull out this tech, you're going to rewind like the data.
I assume that this is purely a sort of
like
cautionary lesson kind of thing. I don't know, maybe a shakedown, but they're not pulling Manus out. Like if I'm Zuck, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure I bet Manus is hitting the Meta AIs anyway at some point, so who cares?
Oh yeah.
And people really like Manus. There's like a ton of people on X that are like very pro Manus for their workflow.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I think, but it is interesting for a lot of these, Chinese-backed startups, and then a lot of the Chinese models, like C-Dance, like, these are like, they're in a lot of things that people use every day.
Yeah. And so it's interesting, like, is this the first shot fired, so to speak, of like these walls are going up and the US, China, like the EU, like, are we going to start to see this like separation of AI talent?
Mm. The balkanization effect.
Yes. You love the balkanization.
I love that. Yes. We shouldn't balkanize things. All right. Well, let's stay on top of this one. So switching gears, Andrew Yang talks about, and Andreessen tweeted about this as well, is that Anthropic is paying up to $400,000 a year for an events role. And it's basically as Andreessen talked about this, where like, as like other skills become commoditized, scarce skills gain in value. So this is like, obviously events roles now may be more valuable than ever because getting people physically together is more important. And it's also like part of like the like plumber effect they talk about, how like plumbers are not getting, taken out by AI anytime soon. And so, so it is interesting. I talked to a friend who is an ad tech leader in a really big ad tech company. And we were sort of having a little bit of this debate about like what's going to happen to ad tech sales, right? As like, and there's that story where Meta is going to keystroke log everything you do on all your devices. They're clearly training a model to do your job. It's like obvious what they're doing. And, the concern obviously, I think for salespeople in particular is like how much of that back and forth, if you're just sending emails around, like whatever, how much of that can go away. But I think the other side is like the really good people are going to command a huge amount of money, right? So like it may be one of those things where I do think like the rich get richer. And, this is maybe like, this one is a little different because like maybe the event role now has been elevated higher than what it was previously, but it's definitely going to have some weird outcomes to it. But I don't know what you think.
Yeah. I mean, I think we started off talking about possible like MAUs coming up for the gaming community. I feel like over the last few years, more and more events are coming up and it's becoming really big business. And I think it's partially what you're saying. And if people can utilize AI to be more productive, then presumably they have more time to go meet in person and ideate and like develop the relationships, which to your point, like if you're a good salesperson, if you're a good business development professional, that should have incredible value, right? And incredible value to the company, to you, and there should be an ROI at some point. And there are companies we had the founder of Vendalux on, a while back, that companies can now start to track ROI on events and like in real life events and such. And so, yeah, I think you're spot on that the good people are going to rise to the top and going to command much higher pay, and like people are going to know who they are. And those that kind of just go to events and grab drinks and kind of middle along, now you're
yeah. I think someone like Vendelux actually is like so well positioned because like you could put a lot of that in the cloud and be like, what was the ROI from this stuff?
Absolutely. Right. And
whereas like before it was like a boondoggle, you had no idea.
Oh, and Claude now should help you prospect, should help you put together follow-up material. Like there's a whole life cycle to this now that like events aren't just you go in person and it kind of disappears. Like it's a whole lead up and post. But
yes.
Good space.
Well, good space. Speaking of space, incredible transition.
Thank you.
SpaceX put out this post that SpaceX is effectively has the right to acquire Cursor. So this is a really, really big deal. The deal I believe is structured is that basically it's a minimum of $10 billion to Cursor. And then if SpaceX decides to buy it, I think it'll be $60 billion. But this one's really interesting because it shows the value of the application layer. So if the Cursor right now is like by far, I think the biggest in terms of usage of like the code agents, but it's now starting to build its own model and doesn't have access to compute to do that. And so by partnering, basically what SpaceX has is compute and money, but doesn't have a lot of people using its version of Claude Code. What Cursor has is a bunch of people using this Claude Code kind of competitor, but has, is light years behind when it comes to access to foundation models and compute. And so this sort of brings that together. I think what it highlights to me is that how important money is and how important compute is. And again, if you kind of take this a little bit on like the ads side of it, and you just think about like what Meta in particular and Google and Amazon, now that like Amazon now has making its own chips, like these guys are set up they're going to absolutely crush it. Mm-hmm. Like they're going to have the smartest everything. And then as applications come out, the applications are going to have to go find a home at one of these places because it just is too easy for them to tack on their existing distribution and go after them. Like eventually, like it's like funny, like eventually X would beat Cursor, right? It's not about them beating Cursor. It's about them keeping up with Claude Code.
Yeah.
And so I think this one's fascinating and it's going to be like first of many that we hear like this.
Yeah. No notes, James. That was a great take. No notes.
Oh, thanks, bud. Yeah. It makes me really want to like just invest in application layers like a distribution and then try to go sell them
As I read
hyperscalers.
Our previous conversation, it's like, this is a good BD person. Like this is not an obvious like deal to structure. And then when you lay it out, you're like, we should probably do this on both sides.
Do this thing. Yes. All right. Chinese microdramas, go.
Oh, Chinese microdramas. You sent this one. I
love this one.
I've watched these on platforms, never really thought about it.
Huh.
But
are they good?
What's that?
Are they good?
Some of them, they're like cheesy. They're like really, really cheesy, over the top, over dramatized, like little shows. I think like Darman is one who has gotten really popular in the US. I think there's varying types, but they're like, if anyone remembers Quibi, it's very similar to Quibi, right? But they're like not trying to be the high production value, like flashy directors, flashy actors. Like this is like, let's get some actors off the street, make a little drama and call it a day. And you can pump these out, right? I think is the thing here is you can pump these out because one, there's not a ton of time that's required. You're not paying big actors, big directors. There's no bar to quality, right? And so it's really a volume game. And then you can build up a library like Netflix and go sell subscriptions, go sell it on platforms and sell ads against it. Like the distribution model is so much easier than a movie or a TV series. And if you find an audience of 1,000 people that like it, but you can do that 1,000 times over, you've got a good business. So I think it's fascinating. I think on a fun note, actually, I have a neighbor who makes holiday films and sells it to Netflix and the big production houses. I texted him this. I was like, you got to get in this game. He's like, already in it. Like people are paying a lot of money to go acquire this stuff. And we're like rethinking how we film some of our like made for TV movies to also have like a vertical video micro drama component to it. I was like, oh. This is great.
The clip stuff is awesome. It's so funny. Clips are like taking over the world in every part. And my kids have gotten really into SpongeBob SquarePants. It's really incredibly annoying, by the way. Like the show is brutal. My wife loves it. The three, like, oh my God, it's so annoying. This is literally my wife and two girls just like watching it all the time now around this house. We've gone from Bluey, which I like loved, to now I have to sit there and watch SpongeBob. But it's on Paramount Plus, and I was like, oh, what's going on with Paramount Plus? And so I was playing around with the new Paramount Plus app, and it's got this clip section, which is like a TikTok style feed. It's incredible. Like, it's so, you see it and you're like, oh my God. Like, from a pure discovery standpoint, like bite-sized content that then if I want to go into more, it is so interesting. And it does make me think of Snapchat and Discover in some ways, like the old Discover where they kind of had it, I think. But it's crazy. It honestly made me think that if Paramount Plus and TikTok can work together, that will, like, if all of it becomes TikTok and then you like scroll over and see all like, and can watch like football on CBS, that app has a pretty bright future ahead of it. Yes. But yes, to close the loop, on the Chinese microdramas, growing like crazy, very clear they are going to be this year's version of TikTok and Musical.ly for ad platforms. Mm-hmm. So like, I think like China Joy, you're going to have more US companies showing up trying to get this money on their ad platforms. It's just too much money to not try to get it. Yeah. But I feel like every year you had Temu. It was like you had like Musical.ly, then you had Temu, and then now it's this.
Who's going to prop up the ad industry for another year?
Yes, I think it's them.
Right.
Yep, this is going to be this one.
You're calling it. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, it is time, James. It's time.
Primary post. Primary post.
What do you have for us today? Your primary post.
My primary post today is this post from Sweat Equity podcast, which is stop thinking in social shows, start thinking like a TV network. If my content pillars are education around X and entertainment around Y, how can I create a show for each pillar, then scale it to where you have show accounts? I think this one to me was just interesting because the people's confidence in thinking big is like unlike anything I've ever seen over the last, like I've been in tech for 20 years, I guess now. Like people weren't thinking this big across the board, right? Like, and I feel like, people are like, well, why can't I have a TV network? Or like, why can't I, pump out 1,000 micro dramas and sell it? So I thought this one's just like encouraging. There's like a lot of like doom scrolling and everything, but I actually think if you find the right pockets of X, it's like the most optimistic place. So that this is a good one for that.
I like it. All right. It's a bright future ahead.
Thanks, bud.
We're going to do it. All right. Mine this week is from the one and only Omar. He wrote, Buy Now, Pay Later is doing God's work for merchants. Just reading this global payments report, and it's nutty that 51% of retail merchants see an over 25% increase in average order value. And really, humans really love instant gratification and kicking the can down the road. Anyone, you know this about me, but anyone listening, like we geek out on finance, we geek out on kind of banking. And so this one was for me like really fun and interesting to see that Buy Now, Pay Later has obviously been the craze for the last few years, but it's still driving value. But it's really just marketing, right? We have credit cards, we have other like I'm going to buy it now and pay it later products. But there's nothing quite like embedding a little button that tells you pay zero for 4 months, and then you'll pay X, Y, and Z to get you to convert and to get you to feel good about a purchase. So,
it's funny when you have an agent like working on your behalf. I wonder, like obviously, like when it has access to a wallet, probably through stable coins, it will have the ability to do these. I wonder if it's going to have more self-control on your behalf.
I was wondering about that too. I actually predict a future of where if regulatorily you can do it, is that like you can connect your bank account, you can connect all this stuff, and there's a real-time underwriting between two agents happening. And there's like a negotiation. Like an agent says, no, like 5%'s not good enough. I want 3. And the other agent's like, oh, your credit sucks. Like, pump the brakes. Like, I can do 4.5. And they're like, deal. Handshake.
Just look. I think it's. I don't know if it's going to work like that, but I think it's something like that. Yes,
something like that.
All right. With that,
good episode. All right, we're gonna go hit the sun, hit the beach. All right,
bye.
Bye.
It's ADSN on the beat, where the data meets the street. James and Daniel in your feed, breaking down the code you need. Tech talk, ad game, and a little AI. Every week we got the chat on ADSN.